Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video on the Gooners and Gloves podcast channel. In today's video, it's going to be the 25th Gooners and Gloves podcast, and I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts and reactions to the Billam Smith Ramirez fight that took place last night for the unified WBA WBO Cruiserweight World Championship. After a fantastic performance, Ramirez becomes the new unified WBA WBO Cruiserweight World Champion, wins by unanimous decision. A really good performance and a very spirited effort from Billam Smith as well. Massive respect to both men. A thoroughly entertaining fight. They both fought their hearts out and they both deserve huge respect for putting their records on the line, putting, their championships on the line and giving us a really entertaining fight and ultimately giving the fans what they want to see. So massive respect to both. A fantastic performance from Ramirez and a very spirited effort from Billam Smith as well. I mean, you guys have to remember Billam Smith literally has less fights than Ramirez has knockouts. Like, there's a very vast difference in experience here. There's seriously a huge difference. Ramirez has far more experience and that experience definitely showed. So huge props to Billam Smith as well on a very spirited effort. So as you can see, the judges scored it 116 to 112 two times, and then another judge scored it 116 113, likely meaning that one of his rounds was a 10-10. So as you can see, a very comfortable performance by Ramirez. So pretty much I'm just going to go over how the fight went, what I thought of the performances, and just essentially, pretty much just go over how the fight went. So as you can see, I scored it 117 111 for Ramirez, so quite similar to the judges. It looks like I gave Billam Smith one more round than the judges did. So yeah, pretty similar score, 117 111, a very comfortable performance by Ramirez. So pretty much let's get into how the fight went. So Billam Smith actually had a really good start to this fight. He started aggressive, and this is actually something that I predicted in my prediction video. I did say that Billam Smith would likely come out aggressive early to try and earn that respect from Ramirez, and that's exactly what he did. And for that reason, I actually gave him the first round 10-9. As you can see, I scored the first round for him. He landed some really good combinations. He had this one really good flurry, which, definitely shocked Ramirez, and you could definitely see the shock in his face. He did not expect Billam Smith to start so quickly. So it was a really good start from from Billam Smith. Really fast, right out of the gate, landed great combinations, knocked his head back a few times with some good punches. So it was a very much solid start to the fight from Billam Smith, and you could definitely see that Ramirez was shocked. I don't think Ramirez expected it. He probably expected a bit more of a slower start, but of course, that's not what happened. And just a very good start from Billam Smith. However, as I mentioned before, Ramirez has that experience. So despite clearly being shocked at the fast pace, he instantly adapted. That's the thing. When you've got almost 50 professional fights like Ramirez does, you've been in these situations before, you know what to do, you know how to get yourself out of trouble. So yes, it was definitely a shock to the system for Ramirez with how quickly Billam Smith started, but he very quickly bounced back. And as you can see, I then went on to score rounds 2 to 5, all for Ramirez, 10-9. Just really good combinations, really good shots, brilliant. The combinations were the main thing, but actually aside from that, a lot of the time the rounds were fairly close and they were both kind of landing the same amount, but Ramirez just had these really powerful punches that were really snapping the head back of Billam Smith, and I think those made the difference. I mean, seriously, the overhand shots in particular were really devastating from Ramirez. Billam Smith would land a bit of a good hook, but then Ramirez would come over the top with a devastating overhand right and left, and that really hurt Billam Smith, and you could see it really shocked him as well. So honestly, in a lot of these rounds, I felt like those really powerful head snapping back punches of Ramirez really made the difference. Well, of course, we knew that Ramirez had a way, knockout percentages was the same, but of course Ramirez had over twice the amount of knockouts as Billam Smith did, and he certainly showed that power on this night. Just really good punches. So while rounds 2 to 5 for the most part were actually close to begin with, like the first sort of half of the round, I was thinking, okay, this could really go either way. As Ramirez got more comfortable throughout the rounds, he was landing these really devastating punches, hooks, uppercuts, that were just really powerful. You could see the sweat flying off of Billam Smith's head. You could see his head get snapped back. And when the rounds are quite close, like these ones were, that definitely makes an impact. Like, that definitely, it certainly catches the eye of the judges. It really does catch the eye of the judges how much someone's head is being snapped back and how powerful the punches are, especially when the round is actually quite close like these ones were. So for that reason, some of them Ramirez genuinely just boxed really well and dominated. In others, while it was quite a close round to begin with, but because of the really powerful punches and just being able to snap the head back of Billam Smith and really push him back, that was able to get him the round. So that's rounds 2 to 5. I gave them all to Ramirez. Boxed really well, was very composed, landed great punches, great combinations, and was able to really keep Billam Smith at bay. Round 6, I gave to Billam Smith. This was another close round, but it's one which I definitely felt Billam Smith did enough to win it. Ramirez, by this point, you know, he was slightly tired, was just having a bit of a tactical break, I'd say. Obviously, it's hard to keep up that fast pace the entire time. Eventually, you're going to have to take a break, and I think this is a round which, you know, Ramirez wasn't quite as active, and also Billam Smith himself was landing those really powerful, like, head-snapping punches. I think that was just a very common theme throughout the fight. They were both just really snapping each other's heads back with great hooks and uppercuts. I think the power punches really told the story of this fight. You know, there were jabs involved, but to be honest, there weren't even that many. It was mainly just hooks, uppercuts, body shots, and those, I think, for me, made the difference for both. So in this round 6, again, a fairly close round throughout, but then Billam Smith, good flurries, good combinations, great punches that really, you know, rocked Ramirez. So for that reason, Billam Smith took rounds 10-9. But once again, as I mentioned before, the experience of Ramirez, he very quickly bounced back from that bad round and then went on to, for me, win round 7-9. Ramirez 10-9. Again, same story as rounds 2-5, just really good punches, great combinations, good movement. And yes, Billam Smith was landing some stuff, but again, it just wasn't really impacting Ramirez that much. You know, with Billam Smith, to be fair, Billam Smith himself wasn't actually getting rocked all that much either, but you could see it on his face, the damage that these punches were doing. Of course, firstly, he had this really big cut above his eye, and you know, and that same eye was also really swollen, and by this point in the fight, it was really starting to impact him. You know, the blood was trickling down, it was impairing his vision. You had the really swollen eye, so he probably was really struggling to see out of that right eye with how swollen it was. And again, Ramirez throughout round 7-9 saw the swelling on the eye, and again, that experience immediately called him to start targeting it, and so he really began to target that side of Billam Smith's face. And obviously in Billam Smith's case, he had to be more defensive, because obviously when you have a big cut like that, if it gets hit too much, the referee can step in and wave off the fight, because obviously that's protocol. So for that reason, Ramirez was able to get round 7-9 pretty comfortably. These ones were a bit less close and were just quite comfortable for Ramirez. Just really good punches, great combinations. Something else that Ramirez did really well on this night, and this is something else that I actually predicted in my prediction video, was body shots. Ramirez's body shots were fantastic. I did say in the first fight that Ramirez is likely to go for the body a lot. Firstly, because he's just really good at body shots, but secondly, because Billam Smith doesn't actually take them that well, and you could see by this point in the fight, he was really beginning to breathe heavily, and that's something he would do for the rest of the fight. He was breathing really heavily, and that was mainly due to the body shots. Really good body shots, you know, uppercuts, hooks, etc. They really suck the air out of your lungs as well, and that's exactly what happened to Billam Smith. So those punches, which maybe in rounds 2 to, you know, like rounds 1-4, were actually hurting Ramirez and were snapping his head back, now they were no longer doing that, and part of the reason was because of the body shots. On top of that, the body shots were really tiring him out, which meant he was dropping his hands as well. So because of how tired he was, Billam Smith was dropping his hands, and again, that allowed Ramirez to land more of those overhand shots and those hooks to the temple. Hooks to the temple were another thing that Ramirez was doing really well in this night, landing really good hooks to the temple, and another big reason for that was due to the body shots and how tired Billam Smith was getting, leading him to drop his hands and therefore be susceptible to that hook. But moving on to round 10, again, round 10 was really just another round where I felt Ramirez was just taking a bit of a tactical break. He wasn't as active. Billam Smith was able to, you know, go in there, land some good shots. Again, I've got to be honest, I honestly think it's just because Ramirez was having a tactical break. He could have easily won the round by just picking it up, but of course he needed to take a tactical break. And now we move on to the championship rounds, rounds 11-12, and these were a bit closer, but I felt that Ramirez did enough in both of them. You know, more effective shots, better combinations, etc. But you could definitely argue that Billam Smith won these rounds as well, because they were quite close. So for me, as I said, that wrapped up my scoring as 117-111 for Ramirez. As you can see, the judges gave it 116-112 and 116-113. So they essentially just felt that Billam Smith won one less round than I gave him, but that is, I'm sorry, won one more round than I gave him. Sorry, my bad. So they gave him one more round, and I gave him one less round, but there you go, that's my score, 117-111. A fantastic performance by Ramirez, you know, really composed, really professional performance. Of course, the experience shined through, but again, respect to Billam Smith, you know, really just very tough, you know, incredibly tough. I did say in the prediction, you know, he won't get knocked out. There's just no way, because Billam Smith is just really tough, has a great chin, and honestly, I said I felt he did well. I mean, you guys have to remember, like, Ramirez has nearly 2 times the amount of fights that Billam Smith does. The experience level is insanely different, so taking all that into account, I actually felt that that Billam Smith put on a pretty spirited performance, and he does deserve respect. So fair play to Billam Smith. He certainly tried his best. He did land his punches. He did win his rounds, but ultimately speaking, Ramirez was just 2 steps above on the night and was deservingly crowned the winner. So of course, as mentioned, this now makes Ramirez the unified WBO Cruiserweight World Champion. So of course, that's a huge achievement from him. I think it's his second weight class to become unified in, as he also became unified at super middleweight as well. So congratulations to him. Of course, I'm sure Billam Smith will bounce back from this. I'm sure it's a very tough pill to swallow. Will there be a rematch? We'll find out. Will Ramirez maybe get his rematch against Dimitri Bivol? Again, we'll find out. But that's going to do it with my analysis from this fight. So a fight that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the fantastic boxing of Ramirez and the really, impressive grit and heart showed by Billam Smith. So respect to both. Shout out to them for giving us such a great fight and also giving us the fight that we wanted to see. And yeah, that's pretty much going to conclude my analysis. So to conclude, Ramirez won by unanimous decision. On the judges' scorecards, 116, 112 2 times, 116, 113. I scored it 117, 111. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Please let me know down below how you guys scored the fight and what you thought of both fighters' performances. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Remember to like and subscribe and turn on all notifications for more podcasts regularly. And I'll see you guys with another podcast soon. Bye-bye.